Have you ever felt like you're wearing a mask? We do it because we've been taught a dangerous lie, that our vulnerability is a weakness. But what if that's not true? What if the thing you're hiding most is actually your greatest superpower? This talk is not about how to protect yourself better. It's about how to live more intentionally by daring to be seen. Because when you allow yourself to be seen, not the mask, not the performance, but you invite others to step out of hiding too. A man sits at a dinner table, surrounded by friends. He's smiling, telling jokes, topping off wine glasses. Everyone sees him as the life of the party. But inside, he feels like he's drowning. His marriage is falling apart. His job is on shaky ground. He hasn't slept properly in weeks. Still, he keeps smiling because he's afraid of being a burden, afraid of being judged, afraid of being truly seen. We all know this man, because at some point, we are this man. We wear masks not because we're liars, but because we're scared. Scared that if people saw the truth, the messy, unpolished, trembling truth, they'd turn away. So we create versions of ourselves to present to the world, strong, competent, in control. We learn to perform resilience instead of practicing honesty. But here's the irony. The very thing we believe will keep us safe, our mask, is what keeps us lonely. You cannot be fully loved if you are not fully seen. And you cannot be fully seen if you never allow yourself to be vulnerable. Why do we equate vulnerability with weakness? Part of it comes from the stories we inherit. Our culture glorifies invincibility. Heroes who never break, leaders who never falter, parents who never cry. We are told strength is silence, toughness, self-reliance. Don't let them see you sweat. Never let them see you cry. But this definition of strength is brittle. It creates people who are hard on the outside but fragile on the inside. Because when life inevitably cracks us open, we don't know how to reach for help. True strength is not the absence of breaking. True strength is the courage to show your cracks and let the light in. Think of every person who has inspired you. A writer whose words saved you. A friend who shared their darkest hour with you. A teacher who admitted they didn't have all the answers. Did their vulnerability make them weaker, or did it make them more profoundly human? Vulnerability is not about being unguarded with everyone. It's about being intentional. It's about choosing courage over performance, presence over perfection. Here's the truth we avoid. You cannot have deep connection without vulnerability. Connection requires risk. It requires saying, this is me, not the curated me, not the rehearsed me, just me. When we hide our pain, our joy, our longings, we build walls. Walls may keep out rejection, but they also keep out intimacy. Empathy cannot flow toward what we never reveal. Active listening cannot meet words we never speak. Holding space cannot exist if there's nothing we allow others to hold. Let me ask you this. Think of your closest relationships. What made them close? It wasn't just laughter. It wasn't just good times. It was the moments when one of you said, "I'm not okay," and the other didn't run. That's where intimacy is born, in the willingness to be seen and in the tenderness of being met there. Of course, vulnerability is risky. When you open yourself, you cannot control how others will respond. Some people will misunderstand you. Some will dismiss you. Some may even weaponize your honesty against you, and that hurts. But here's the deeper truth. Rejection does not define your worth. It reveals their capacity. When someone cannot hold your vulnerability, it doesn't mean you're too much. It means their container is too small. Your courage to be seen will sometimes cost you, but it will also filter your life. Because the ones who stay, The ones who lean in, hold you, and whisper, "Me too," those are the people who will walk with you toward true intimacy. Better to be loved for who you are than admired for who you pretend to be. So, how do we practice this? How do we bring vulnerability into our lives without losing ourselves? Here are 3 invitations. Vulnerability doesn't mean spilling your entire soul to a stranger. It means allowing yourself to be a little more honest than feels comfortable, saying, "Actually, today was hard." Not everyone has earned the right to see your soul. Practice with those who have proven themselves trustworthy, empathetic, capable of holding space. When someone asks how you are, resist the reflex to polish. Pause, breathe, offer something real. This is intentional living, making choices that align with authenticity, even when it feels scary. There is a sacred power in being witnessed. When you share your truth and someone meets it with empathy, you experience liberation. The shame begins to dissolve. The isolation begins to soften. The burden begins to lift. It is not advice that heals us first, it is presence. To be seen without judgment is one of the most healing experiences a human can have. And here's the gift. When you allow yourself to be seen, you give others permission to do the same. Your vulnerability becomes a doorway, a quiet revolution of courage that spreads from heart to heart. If vulnerability is so powerful, why don't we live this way? Fear. Fear of rejection. Fear of being misunderstood. Fear of being too much or not enough. But here's the secret. Fear doesn't disappear before courage arrives. Courage is what you choose in the presence of fear. Every time you let yourself be seen, you strengthen a new muscle. You discover that the world doesn't end when you speak your truth. In fact, it begins. True intimacy is not built on perfection. It's built on presence. When you dare to say, "This is me," flawed, messy, tender, you create a space where others can say, "This is me too." This is how relationships deepen. This is how communities heal. This is how humanity becomes more humane. Because vulnerability is not just personal, it's collective. It's the courage that rehumanizes our fragmented world. We spend our lives searching for love, belonging, connection. But so often, we stand in our own way by hiding. What if the very thing you're afraid to reveal is the key to the intimacy you've been craving? What if the cracks in your armor are not weaknesses, but openings for light to enter? The courage to be seen is not about exposure, it's about truth. It's about intentional living, choosing authenticity over performance, empathy over judgment, presence over perfection. And here's the final paradox. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable, you discover a strength you never knew you had. Not the strength of control, but the strength of connection. That is the power of vulnerability, and that is the courage to be seen. Tonight, I invite you to practice. The next time someone asks you, "How are you?" pause. Instead of answering automatically, tell them something true, something small, something real. And when someone you love shares their struggle, resist the urge to fix. Look them in the eyes, breathe, say, "I hear you, I'm here." This is how we begin, one honest moment at a time, one unpolished truth at a time, one act of courage to be seen. Because vulnerability is not weakness, it is the strongest bridge we can build toward deep connection, true intimacy, and a life lived with intention.